The only reason to cook with wine that tastes good is because you're going to drink the rest of the bottle. If you're using an entire bottle of white or an entire bottle of red in a stew or a stock or something, you don't need to worry about it being particularly great. You're not going to drink it, and you're adding there to add acidity and sweetness and a depth of flavour. It's not going to be drunk. Do you know what I've done? Carnal sin, I haven't salted my pasta water. Hey, I'm honest with you, and I'm honest. I could have blagged that. I could have edited out me putting in that salt. Yeah, it's nice, really nice. When it comes to adding cheese to dishes, I tend to just go with my gut instinct. Pesto. I'm not going to call it a proper pesto because Italians will get annoyed with me. Hiya. Right. So, I'm going to make not a risotto, this is Orzo Pasta. If you've never seen it before, they're like large grains of rice. Actually, first let me apologise for the lighting. The light on the hood is now broke, the light under the cabinets is broke, and the actual kitchen light barely does anything. So we're a natural light and a bit of whatever. Hopefully you can see. I'm sure it'll be fine. I can up it a bit in post. So yeah, we're using Orzo Pasta, which is like large grains of rice, to kind of make like a cheap risotto. But we're going to do with a kind of a pesto, but we're going to mix half. We're going to use half as much basil and replace that with parsley, and we're going to chuck in a decent amount of mint. So probably small handful of basil, small handful of parsley, and then half as much of either in mint. Because mint works really well with chilli. We've also got a chipotle chilli here that I need to de-seed. So we've got a de-seeded chipotle chilli, mostly de-seeded. I'm just going to dry toast that in a dry pan with some almonds. Traditionally in a pesto it would be pine nuts. Pine nuts are a lot more expensive. If you look at jars of pesto, there'll be 90% almond to 10% pine nut. So we're going to use almonds just to keep it down a little bit in price. If you can buy pre-toasted ones, you can. I'm using flakes. Whole ones will work well because we're going to chuck them all in a food processor anyway. So we're just going to dry toast that, get them a bit lovely. And then once they're all toasted off, we're going to chuck them in the processor with some Parmesan, herbs, a bit of olive oil, a bit of salt. Make a lovely minty pesto. I'm not going to call it a proper pesto because Italians will get annoyed with me. But yeah, but like I said, you can leave out the chilli if you want, but smoky, a little bit of heat from those chipotles work really well with mint. Mint and chilli work really well together. And we're going to make it with a bit of pea, so it's kind of like a minted pea risotto, except it's not risotto, it's Orzo Pasta. So we've already got some water on the boil for the pasta, but this all comes together really quick, especially if you pre-make. You can make the pesto in advance. But we're just going to lightly toast all these off, get them a bit toasty and lovely, and then just make a pesto. Right, so they've just got a little bit toasty, nice and smelling. You're going to go straight into our food processor. If you haven't got a food processor, you can do this in a pestle and mortar, which is literally where the name pesto comes from. Pesto, pestle, to pound. Or, especially if you buy pre-chopped almonds, you can do it on the board. Just chuck everything together and just chop it all together. So I'm actually gonna, where those scissors gone? Gonna chop those chilies up a little bit finer just to be on the safe side. I like dried chilies for this because they don't add a load of moisture to the sauce, to the pesto. You can use fresh chilies if you want. Sun-dried chilies like Calabrian chili would be really nice. So I'm gonna put those together and just give them a little blitz first. And then we're gonna go in with all our herbs. So we've got basil, mint, and parsley. Like I said, decent sized handful of each, half as much mint. And can give that a blitz as well. Now, quite dry, quite crumbly, but it'll still look quite nice. I'm gonna go in there with our Parmesan. You can leave the Parmesan if you want. Leave the Parmesan if you want. Leave out the Parmesan. Don't ask me how much Parmesan that is. When it comes to adding cheese to dishes, I tend to just go with my gut instinct. And we're also gonna go in there with some olive oil, not loads to begin with, just enough to bind it. Also not going to season it at this point because that Parmesan is going to be quite salty. I'm going to use some extra virgin and some regular mild olive oil, only because loads of extra virgin can get a bit bitter and a bit cloying. Yeah, so I'm not going to salt it at the moment. Doesn't need pepper because there's chilies in there. Maybe put a bit of pepper in at some point. But for now, I'm just going to give that a whiz. And you might want to have a scrape down on your sides because that's going to have gone everywhere. And we should have a nice pesto. Get a spoon, give it a taste. Yeah, it's nice, really nice. So now, pretty much everything starts to come together. So in that pan that we dry toast stuff off, we're going to put it back on the heat. Medium, hasn't got to be super hot. Go in there with a bit of olive oil, not loads. And we'll start with, so that's just one decent sized shallot that I have minced. Want it quite fine, like when we made the risotto. You want the onion to be smaller than the grains of rice. Well, we use an Orzo Pasta, so it can be a bit bigger than you would normally do it, but I'm just going to sweat that down. And we can put a pasta on now as well. I'm going to start a timer, because we want, probably take about 5 to 7 minutes. We want it al dente. We want each individual grain to still be, we don't want it going mushy. We want it to have like a bit of a bite, like a grain of rice would. So don't be afraid to use the timer. Once that's gone translucent, I'm going to have a little glug of dry white wine. Not much at all, like 3 tablespoons. And we're gonna, there's nothing really to deglaze in the pan at this point, but we're just gonna let that reduce down, let the alcohol cook off and let that wine reduce a little bit. What you might want to do now at this point, if we're cooking at real time, you might want to get yourself a jug, something that's good for hot water, put it in the sink. Because we're gonna drain that pasta through a sieve, because it's so small it's gonna be impossible to get it out with a spoon. You can probably do it with a slide spoon, but we want to drain it, but we want to keep that pasta water. Oh, do you know what I've done? Carnal sin, I haven't salted my pasta water. Hey, I'm honest with you, and I'm honest, I could have blagged that. I could have edited out me putting in that salt. It'll stir, make sure nothing's sticky and it's not all clagging together. If your wine is in the fridge, which is a white wine, so it probably would have been, you might want to turn your heat up a little bit, just get that wine bubbling again. Right, just while that's reducing down, we're going to grab a few some more mint leaves. Don't want the stems because they're quite woody. And I'm going to go grab a little bit of parsley as well. Not loads, just a little bit like that. And we're just going to chop all that up on the board, just to stir through towards the end to add a bit of freshness. Hasn't got to be perfect. It's a nice, easy summer dish. Pasta's been in there for about 5.5 minutes. I'm just going to have a little taste to see where we're at. No, they should only need a couple more minutes just to, they're not quite al dente yet. You know that black spot? That's a bit of chilli that made its way into the pan off of my spatula. Right, so that wine's all really reduced down. We put that to a low heat for now. Right, so we're just gonna strain that off. And we're gonna go straight into here with it. Along with any stragglers. Probably with Orzo, because it is so small, lots of surface area there, so it does emit a lot of starch. But that's handy for us here, because that means you can use that starch to make a nice creamy risotto-esque pasta dish. So that's about a couple of tablespoons of that pasta water. Save the rest of it, we're probably going to end up using it. And we're also going to go in with our air quotes, quote unquote, pesto. Right, we're also going to go in with our frozen peas. And just stir to combine. Probably going to turn that heat up again because it's had a load of, that frozen peas are going to have taken a load of heat out of that pan. I'm just trying to get pesto in amongst all of the grains of Orzo. You see how rich and creamy that's getting. Like a carbonara. No, more like a cacio e pepe. It's the starch in the pasta water and that little bit of the help from the bit of cheese. Just holding that all together. I'm going to turn that heat off. I'm going to go in there with our fresh herbs. Add a load more colour, a load more fresh flavour. And we're going to also slice up some fresh butter, cold butter. I'm going to stir that through as well. I'm just going to take this all to that next level. You can leave out the butters, make it a bit healthier. Like I said, if you want to make it vegan. Alright, once that butter's all incorporated and our fresh herbs are all in amongst the pan, it's done. And there you go. You can give it another little kiss of Parmesan to finish it off if you want. Why the devil not? got a little, just for the gram, little bergamot on top, just to take it home. And there you go. It's not a risotto because it's not got rice in it, but it is absolutely beautiful, and it's got that same rich, creaminess without the cream that you get from a risotto. And it's just shovel it in your mouth, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous, nice, and it's summery. It's peas and it's seasonal. Some dried chilli in there, which you can leave out. You don't have to toast up a whole. You can use some chili flake, or like I said, miss it out completely. And that pesto works anywhere you're going to use a pesto. So another quick and easy one. Probably can get it all done in less than 10 minutes if you've already got stuff prepped. Yeah, so hope you're enjoying your summer. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell because apparently that's handy, and also follow me on Instagram because I post on Instagram pretty much every day. Lovely foods like this, if I say so myself. All right then, I'm gonna have a nice chilled glass of wine with me risotto pasta, and I'll see you when I see you. Ciao.